I know I've been on a Divorce Diaries rant for quite a while now, but I just want to take a break to just remind you about this podcast and how I record it. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast everywhere. Seriously. On Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Again, that's anchor.fm to get started, or download the Anchor app.
This guy is nuts. Is he really making daily recordings of his possible divorce and releasing it as a podcast? They both cheated on each other. She's making six figures and still doesn't contribute to any joint endeavors financially. Why is she still with him? Why is he still with her? I can't wait for the next episode. This helped me be a better wife. So this is how men think. I hate my husband less now. I understand my wife more now. These are some of the listener comments to the Divorce Diaries podcast. All over the map, I know. These anonymous accounts of events should resonate with anyone that has been married, is married, or is preparing for marriage, and helps couples avoid pitfalls as they might prepare for marriage. Entire seasons are released on Patreon weeks before anywhere else at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Link in description. Now for today's episode.
Being at the crossroads of playing ball or not playing ball can sometimes be the straw that breaks the camel's back. This is the rebooted Divorce Diaries podcast where I'm not ranting like a spoiled brat. I am having conversations that actually do mirror more of a diary entry of a divorce and the things that I'm going through or not going through as I transition to this new phase of life. Living apart from my wife, living apart from my children, and what that looks like for someone that's been married their entire, I'm not joking, entire adult life. So with me initially recording all those horrible red pill rage, angry man, bitter, in contempt, blamer diary entries that I've now taken down. Like I said, if anything, I may put those up on Patreon because I want people to hear, men especially, just how angry I was, what anger sounds like, how they themselves may have been angry, may still be angry. No, it's just when you don't want to, like me, when you don't want to own your shit, you blame other people. When you don't want to be accountable, you start talking about what other people did wrong. And that's what I was doing. All I had to do was talk about what other people did wrong. Did that change the fact that they did bad things, wrong things, not great things, hurtful things to me? No. But it was my focus solely on other people, which means as long as I'm focused on other people, who am I not focused on? Myself. I'm not focused on what I did to contribute to that situation. Not enough. Because I think if we all spent more time worrying about ourselves as opposed to other people, we wouldn't be so worried about I wouldn't have been so worried about what my wife did with her money necessarily, because I would be thinking about, hey, how come I haven't found a way to have a good and healthy conversation and a good and healthy relationship with my wife around money? What can I do to help foster a better financial, communicative environment between me and my wife financially? Or am I just going to sit back and every time she buys something, am I just going to take shots at it and pick her apart and talk about how her purchases are irresponsible and how she's not saving any money? Why don't I spend a modicum of that time trying to figure out why the heck can't I talk to and structure some sort of financial situation that both my wife and I can be a fan of. Why can't I do that? What am I doing to prevent that? Once I started to focus on me, it didn't matter. Nothing that my wife did mattered because I had my own shit to deal with. And I was always projecting everything onto her and my kids and just being an overall dick and hard person to live with. So the name. So I've got a few kids and none of them want their birth names at this point. None of them. My adult child, my almost adult child, and my younger child. None of them want their names. They were named, let's call it Sebastian. And Sebastian now wants to be called Marcus. No one asked me, but it's my diary entry, and I would think the reason that they don't want their names is because they want to have some sort of control, because their parents are out of control in the sense that we're not in control of our lives. We don't have a happy marriage or happy relationship. We don't have all the time a happy marriage or happy relationship. We don't have goals that we're moving toward. We aren't good examples right now of what a happy and healthy marriage should look like. And when children are involved in that, the parents are supposed to be the guides and the leaders of their lives, I believe. And when we aren't, and we lack such control over ourselves and our marriage and our relationship and the way we communicate, I think the kids are just looking for some sort of control. And what I think they can exact control over is, here's what you'll call me. You'll no longer call me Sebastian. I am not Sebastian anymore. Even though you gave me that name, I reject it. Thereby, I sort of, in a way, I reject you. I reject the way that you live. I reject the person that you're showing me as an example. And that's what I think. And I honestly say rightfully so. They should reject me. I don't think it should necessarily manifest in an unhealthy way, like with their name being changed, because I think that as children, as people, if the name matters so much to you, you might want to figure out why the name is so significant, because the problems don't go away just because your name changes. But I understand as children, you don't really know how to process those things. And I'm raising my hand right now, even though you can't see it. I'm raising my hand. I am an adult and I do not have my shit together, and I am not in control of my life. But in my adulthood, I do know that even though changing my name, because I also don't want the name that my father gave me. I will keep my middle name, but I don't want that name, my first name, because my first name is my father's name and my grandfather. And they were gross alcoholics. And my father has been very hurtful. And so I would prefer to not carry his first name. But let's be honest about it. Me changing my name doesn't really change anything. It sort of just cuts any legal sort of tie like that. And hey, I've rejected what you gave me. So in a way, I can empathize and understand what my kids are saying when they want to change their name. I get it. And in my wife and I's toxic relationship, one of the characteristics of the parts of our relationship that are toxic, because all of it is not toxic, but the part that is toxic is one around communication, in that I'm like typically always the last to know about something. And one of my daughters wanted to change her name, and we already had a ton of problems. And now a new problem is my daughter wanting to change her name. Now, on the face of it, that's not a quote unquote problem, my daughter wanting to change her name. What the problem is my wife and daughters had a discussion and came to an agreement that her name would be changed, or that we all would start calling her a different name. And the way that it was proposed to me was a surprise and a shock. Her name is now this. I'm now being told and dictated to. So I'm immediately at a crossroads. First, I'm at a crossroads of if I'm going to have this quote unquote fight. I'm the last to know fight. There's one fight. in addition to all the others, financial, divorce, cheating, separation, all of these things, family dynamics, oh my gosh, all these things. And now, should I have this new, I'm the last to know. Okay. And then do I just comply? Oh, that's what we're doing? Okay, cool. So now all of a sudden I'm a father that's more of a simpleton. I'm just saying, okay, cool, that's what we're doing. All right, well, fine. And I don't ask why. I don't ask any questions. I just need to play ball. That was hard for me for a while. But understanding what that means to play ball in that game, it means that I accept that I don't have a say. My wife and I spent, if anyone that's listening has had children and they were in the name selection process with the biological parents or whatever, your adopted parents, but you're in a name selection. It's one of the most fun and intimate things because you're naming this thing, this person that hasn't come into the world yet. And for a couple of our kids, we didn't know their gender. And so we came up with, top 3 boys and top 3 girl names. And that was really exciting. What if they're this and they're that? And it's almost like when you're talking around the office or amongst family and friends, what would you do if you won the Mega Million or the Powerball? What would you do if you won $300 million? Oh, I would. And then everyone goes into this euphoric imagination kind of synopsis of all the things that they would do, want to do, could do, would love to do if they didn't. And it's almost like you get a glimpse into the dreams that people have when they're talking about their lottery winnings if they were to win. And that's exactly what you're doing as a parent when you're expecting a child. You're thinking of all that they are going to be, will be, maybe what they'll look like, what they'll do, what activities you might want to get them into, what they might enjoy. Oh, will they like vanilla ice cream like you, or will they like chocolate like me, or will they hate it and like pie like their grandmother? Oh, that'll be so interesting. I can't wait to give them pie for the first time. I can't wait for them to try a Skittle. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think their name will be, Sebastian. Sebastian's it. I think that fits well for a boy. Yeah. And your grandfather's name, his name was Sebastian. And we called him Bass for short. Hey, Bass, come. What? Oh, yeah, I can see it now. Can you see him in his diaper? He'll just be. There's all these things that you do. And there's this really intimate process that you come to selecting a name for someone. And now, it's a name that you gave them, and everybody has the opportunity and right to change their name. Legally. It's fine. But for me to have come to that name for my kids in a very intimate way with my wife, and then it kind of hurt, for her and my children to just come to this conclusion that here's what it's going to be, and we're just going to tell Dad this is what's going to happen. That was tough. And it was tough because there were so many other problems that we had on top of that. And now this was just one more. And it was hard for me pride-wise because if I would have just accepted that, then I'm now setting a precedent where everyone gets to just dictate to each other and tell, here's what's going to happen. Or we're going here, or we're doing this, or we're spending our money on that, or we're going on vacation here, or we're not going to wear these type of clothes, or and it's hard when it's like that because we're not really a family anymore. It's like there's subjects, and I felt like they were a group of tyrants and I was their subject. Now, I didn't have to look at it that way because I've since submitted and I've since said, you know what, fine, I'll call her new name. And I call my other daughter her new name, and I also, when I'm talking to my wife, I call them by their names that we gave them and their legal names because I'm trying to send a message a little bit. And I can tell my wife, she's also trying to send a message when we're talking, and she's just like, boom, and she just says their new name. And I have to imagine it's probably like this. And I brought this example up, and I probably shouldn't have, to my family. I said, well, what if all of a sudden our daughter, because I'm telling you guys, like, our daughter's a girl. She loves wearing dresses, even though that doesn't make her a girl. Her wearing a dress, she's got a vagina and she's got ovaries. Our other daughter is having her period. Like, they are girls, they are women. And what if they just say, well, no, not only do I identify as this new name, I also identify as a boy. I feel for all of those parents, Kris Jenners, stuff like that, when you know that your spouse is a man, but now they identify as a woman, and now you're just supposed to go along with it. I'm not talking about what makes them feel a certain way or anything like that. I'm just saying, the facts are you were named this. The fact is you have a penis, or the fact is you have a vagina. You are a woman. You are a man. You are Sebastian. That is the fact of it. Now, if you want me to just say, yes, I will act like your name is not Sebastian, and I will act like you are a woman, even though I know you have a penis because I saw it when you were born, and I know you have a vagina because I saw babies come out of it, and now you want to say, okay, I'll act like it. But when we're done playing make-believe and it comes down to it, you are a man, you are a woman, you are Sebastian. And there's nothing you can do to change that. Now, you can actually change your name legally. That's a thing you can do. But you cannot just change you cannot cut off your penis, have genital surgery with something that is fashioned like a vagina, and ever bear a child. You cannot do it because you are a man. So I said that. And I said, what if she just says I'm a boy? What are we going to do? Because I do feel like it's a slippery slope. Once you start acquiescing to things that are not true, you'll find yourself in this really precarious situation, because you're going to have to continue to say yes to the stuff you know is a lie, or you're going to have to either you play ball in this game with new rules that do provide an advantage to some over the others, or you don't. And for a long time, I didn't play ball. Then I just submitted and started calling her something else. It's a horrible situation. And it's really hard being in relationship. And I'm going to say relationship as a father to my daughters, relationship as a father to my son, relationship as a husband to my wife, or soon to be no longer wife, potentially. Like, it being in these relationships and having these rules that one must play by. It's like if you were playing Uno and your opponent was playing Pylon, but you couldn't play Pylon. You know that it's like, wait, you're going to run out of cards faster than me. When you have 2 6s, you're going to be able to put them down at the same time. But if I have 2 9s, I can only put down one at a time. Like, you're probably going to win every game of Uno. You're like, well, no, I'm not winning. I'm just playing by this rule. And you're like, okay, well, can I play by that rule too? It's like, well, sure. You can identify as a different name. Well, I don't want to identify as a different name. I want to keep my name. And you're like, well, I don't want to keep my name. Okay, well, then if you're going on that field trip, whose name do I put down? You put down my new name. Well, I can't put down your new name because that's not legally your name. Well, then let's go legally change it. I don't want to go legally change it. Well, I want you to. Well, now you're just holding me hostage. Okay, well, I don't like you anymore, Dad. And I'll change my name when I get 18. And by the way, I'm 12 now, so I won't talk to you for the next 6 years. Well, fine. I guess we'll go change your name. Ha! You did what I wanted because I'm a powerful child. What else am I going to do? Oh, I want this car. Okay. I mean, I don't have the money to get it. I mean, you could drive the car one of the family cars, like you could drive that one, but I don't have the money to get that specific vehicle. I want it, or I'm going to hate you until I'm 21 and I'm 16 now and I want that car. Okay, fine. I'll get you. Okay, fine. Cool. And it's like, you'll always find yourself in this position where you're bartering, or I should say you're negotiating with terrorists. I'm not saying that my daughters are terrorists. My kids are terrorists. I'm not saying that. because they're not terrorists. I believe that they are so upset and hurt and mortally wounded by what I've done to them as their father, and I have not protected them, and I have not been the sweetest, and I have not used the best tone, and I have put them down at times, and I've hurt their feelings in small ways and big ways. And now they want no parts of me, and that will include the name that I helped to give them. And with my wife being understanding and empathetic and sympathetic with them, she's very quick to, okay, if that's what you want. And because she doesn't want them to feel bad, because she already knows they feel bad, and she already has her own version of guilt that she's feeling. So she is playing ball, because why fight it? Why just have another thing to fight about? And that was always a hard lesson for me. That's why I'm no longer that type of man, person, or husband or father. I can't fight everything all the time. I can't, and I shouldn't. It's all right. We'll get it together one of these days.
Wow. That was the Divorce Diaries podcast. The Daily Saga will continue tomorrow. The full season's episodes are on Patreon now. Subscribe for early access. Click the Patreon link in the description. Hopefully, these entries help our anonymous recorder as a form of his own personal therapy. That's his hope and his intention. Will these recordings of life's curveballs lead this family to the best resolution in the end? We'll keep listening. New episodes are released daily on all podcast players, but all episodes are available on Patreon at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Until next time.